Welcome, children. Welcome to the poetry class. We take up the poem Television. Television by Roald Dahl. This particular poet is one of the greatest storytellers for children of the 20th century. He has received many awards and he has written poems. This particular poem is more interesting because it's in a very simple language. Among his various awards for contribution to literature, he received the World Fantasy Award for Life Achievement in 1983 and Children's Author of the Year from the British Book Awards in 1990. And in 2008, the Times placed Dahl 16th on its list of the 50 greatest British writers since 1945. Television. When this word television, when I say, what comes to your mind? You think about the cartoons which you see, the various programs which you see on the TV. The television is often called the idiot box. Why it is called idiot box? Because it makes the person so. And you feel many times that when you see TV, it's useful in spreading information and education. At times it is true. It depends upon the user. You have a knife, for example, a very simple one, which you can use to cut vegetables. At the same time, that can also be used to stab a person. So it depends upon the user. So some feel it's informative, educative. At the same time, some feel that it turns people into couch potatoes. That is, lazy people who don't do any kind of exercise for their body nor for the mind. Television is really one invention which has changed the lifestyles. In fact, if you can say that television is replaced by mobiles now these days. So, can you just think how far these are useful for the children? Can you think about it? As a child, you may not realize. As teachers, as elders, as parents, we do realize how it kills the imagination, makes them very inactive. Children don't even go out to play. They're busy with their mobiles these days. In fact, mobiles have replaced television. When this poem was written, that time television was something like as we use mobiles these days. So let us see about it. The most important thing we have learned so far as children are concerned is never let them near your television set. Or better still, just don't install the idiotic thing at all. In these lines, the poet Roald Dahl is addressing all the parents. He's telling them that the most important thing one must learn while raising the children is to keep them away from the television set. He says that it is possible to come to a better solution to this problem. What is the solution? By not installing a television set in the houses. If there are no television sets, then the children would not waste their precious time watching them. So he says, don't install at all. Imagine your house without a TV. Imagine your life without a mobile. So, the most important thing we have learned so far as children are concerned is never let them near your television set. Don't allow them to be near your television set. It says. And there is a repetition of the word never. 3 times. Never, never, never. At the same time, you find it's also in bold letters. This indicates the intensity of how the poet feels towards the television. He uses the word, the adjective. He used the word adjective, idiotic, to tell us what negative view is created because of it. They are in capital letters. Never, never is in capital letters. Also, there is a repetition of it. That is to emphasize the point. It is a belief, a common belief, that the one who watches TV becomes an idiot. So it is called an idiotic box. They not only become an idiot, but also they become lazy. They simply lie down and keep watching and watching and watching. These days, you're more addicted to mobiles, children, but previously, you were busy with your TVs. As soon as you go home, you'll put your bag aside. Maybe you don't even change your dress. Just throw your socks and shoes, sit down in a chair or a sofa and just switch on the TV. And you'll tell your mother, the whole day I was working, I was busy studying. Please let me have some change. Let me see the TV for some time. You may feel that you will be watching only for half an hour, but that half an hour never ends. Then half an hour becomes 1 hour. And you don't even realize it because you're addicted to it so much. You don't realize it at all. So in this way, you waste a lot of time. Maybe you're seeing cartoon or you're seeing a movie or whatever is the program. Even elders are not an exception to it. We also feel the same. Just will relax. Now to relax, let us see, switch on the TV. The same thing happens as it happens to you. Each one should have a control on others because it's a waste of time. Those people earn maybe in the form of cartoon or it's in the form of movies or whatever, serials. Those actors and actresses, they earn a lot of money. All those people, those are connected to it. But what do we get? Are we not wasting our time? Have you ever realized it? Match is there. You'll just go on watching the match for hours together. Imagine. Once in a while, it's okay. Everything is okay. But it should not be an everyday affair. IPL matches go on. Keep on watching hours together. Those players, they get huge amount for playing. What do you get for watching those? Imagine those players playing. What do you get? You don't get anything. You are a literal loser, losing so many hours. Just imagine you just fix 1 week's time and see 1 week I'll not watch TV at all. Now, TV is replaced by mobiles. I agree that you have to watch mobile to see your classes. Apart from classes, I don't touch my mobile. You will have lot of time to do various things. I know you're busy watching other YouTube videos or some movies or something or the other in your mobiles. But if you restrict yourself, if you control yourself, if you control your mind, surely you can do it. Just see for one week how many hours you'll have so that which can be utilized in a better way, in a productive way. In almost every house we have been, we have watched them gaping at the screen. They loll and slop and lounge about and stare until their eyes pop out. Last week, in someone's place, we saw a dozen eyeballs on the floor. In almost every house we have been. Like the poet here, he assumes that he has undertaken some research on the bad effects of watching television by visiting various houses. In most homes, in most of the houses, he has found that children lazily wasting all day staring at the television screen without doing any useful work. At this point, the poet is exaggerating the effect of watching television by saying that sometimes the children stare so hard that their eyeballs fall off. He says, see, they stare until their eyes pop out. They keep on looking at the screen. You feel that this eyeballs coming out, fallen on the ground, on the floor. And in this way, he says, a week before, he saw in someone's house a dozen eyeballs rolling about on the floor. It's just an imagination. It's not true. Really, the eyeballs will not fall even if you keep on staring it. But it's all his imagination. He feels that when you keep on staring it, you feel that the eyeballs would fall on the ground and you'll find all eyeballs. He has seen like that. He imagines like that. So the poet presents his findings as a result of the survey they have conducted. It made him to appear, it was unbelievable for him. He has used the word, three words, lol, slop, launch. So here, all the three words, they are all meaning, nearly all these words mean the same. They show the bad effect of watching television on children. What do they do? Actually, lol or slop or launch. You sit in a relaxed manner, lie down, relax. All these three really more or less mean the same. And he saw a week before a dozen eyeballs on the floor due to staring continuously at the screen. The poet mentions here a time and a place where he saw the eyeballs rolling on the ground to make it more realistic. Last week, he says, last week in someone's place, we saw a dozen eyeballs on the floor. So, to make it more realistic, he also mentions the time and place in the house. So, all this is to convince everybody about the harmful uh, television is a it's created in such a way so that uh, they leave watching television. They leave television at home. The expression, the eyeballs popped out, fall on the ground. When you hear these words, these lines, doesn't a smile come on your face, on the lips when you read these lines to just exaggerate things? You feel, oh, really? It happened like this? Oh, no, no, it's not true. You feel, isn't it? So, only to create that sense, he has used this to make it, to make you people realize, the children especially. So, here, who is the speaker in this poem? We have seen two extracts. Who is the speaker in this poem? Here the speaker is the poet. And what do we what is the learning taking place in the poem? In the beginning of the sentence of the poem, you see, the parents should learn how to bring up the children. They have to learn how to bring up the children. The most important thing we have learned so far as children are concerned, he says. He feels that it makes television makes them lazy, and also it kills their imagination. Imagine when you're reading a book. He went to the market. So many beautiful flowers were displayed, different colors. The same thing when you read the book, you imagine the market scene, the beautiful flowers, all this. Whereas if all this thing like a spoon you're feeding, no, you're being fed with a spoon, everything is displayed. Where is the chance for you to imagine? Imagine a small thing, a calculator. When calculator has come to our hands, what do? Even 2 plus 2, our brain feels lazy to add. Immediately you lose the confidence and you just click on the calculator to see, or a mobile to see 2 plus 2 how much. Has it ever happened to you? Just, you need not tell me, but try to realize. So we have seen that there's a repetition of the word never 3 times in small and capital letters to emphasize the point of keeping the children away from the television. So, what is the option he gives here? Don't install TV at all, he says. And that is the reason people call television an idiot box. What do the people call? They call it an idiot box. So, in this way, we find the poet raises the point how television has created a negative effect. When the poet wrote this poem, that was television. Now this is mobile, has taken the place of television, you can say. So television and other similar electronic gadgets pose a great concern for parents with regard to their children. And the concern is also really relevant. So when we read the second stanza, the poet tells us again that he visited every house. Every house they visited, for what? To survey. And they found that children were watching television and their eyes were fixed on the television screen. The word gaping he uses, gaping at the screen. That is their inability to turn their head away from the screen, to take their eyes off from the screen. And the fallen jaw, you know, gaping, what do you do? Your jaw is fallen. That shows stupidity. If anybody's face is like this, oh, stupid fellow, you just say like that, isn't it? So that shows stupidity. So the fallen jaw suggests a look of stupidity in a person, an individual. The poet mentions that he has visited a group of people. A group of people have visited many houses. That is, they visit to collect the facts, to see the observations, how things are going on, as a survey is conducted. And every house, what did they watch? They have seen that children are staring at the screen in a lazy manner, an idle manner, and the words lol, slop, launch. They do not give a pleasant and positive reaction. They suggest that the children have become very lazy. And the expression he gives, the eyes pop out, that someone is looking at is really fascinating and surprising. The eyeballs don't leave their sockets actually, nor they pop out as shown in this poem, as told in this poem. It's just to exaggerate how things may happen. It will not happen, but it might happen if you keep on watching all the time like this, with the mouth open, keeping. So it is a dialogue kind between the poet and the parents of the children. He is saying that in a very low voice, he's trying to share one secret also. That he saw the eyeballs rolling on the floor. Imagine this, imagine it. He puts this in brackets actually. A change, the twinkle of the eye in which the speaker utters these words. This is not reality, but is only to exaggerate. So let us take the third stanza. They sit and stare and sit until they are hypnotized by it, until they are absolutely drunk with all that shocking, ghastly junk. In these lines again, Dal says that in most houses, the children continuously watch television and it looks as if they are mesmerized by the scenes in the television. It can be a cartoon, it can be a serial, it can be a movie. Here's something, ah, you don't know. When you're eating, you lift your hand, the spoon is there near the mouth. You even forget to eat. Something like a magic is cast on you, magical spell. And they're captured by the television screen and they cannot concentrate on anything other than what they are watching. In these lines, sir, The poet says that the entire attention of the child is captured by the television screen. They cannot concentrate on anything other than what they are watching in them. So he says he sit and stare and stare and sit. Changing the word order reduces sit and stare and stare and sit. A dullness in watching television is produced. He says they are hypnotized. Hypnotize is something, somebody taking you under complete control. You're totally controlled by something here. Who is controlling you here? The television seems to control you here. And you are, until they are absolutely drunk. Here, what is drunk here means? The child gets intoxicated with watching television. When you take too much of alcohol, a person gets intoxicated, isn't it? Same thing happens. He's just like a magic on him, and he doesn't realize he's not in his senses, you can say. With all that shocking, ghastly junk, ghastly, unpleasant, bad junk, which is rubbish, nonsense. So when they're continuously watching the television, they seems to be mesmerized by the horrifying screams in the television, whatever is telecast. They stay so continuously that it looks that they don't even blink their eyes. They just see like that. They don't even blink their eyes. It appears as if have the hangover of watching the TV, which is nothing other than a junk box. Again, it is called a junk box because after having drink alcohol, next day my head is aching. I want to relax. Same thing when you watch this TV for a longer time. Again, you're not fit for working. It acts like alcohol. So he uses the words hypnotized, drunk, ghastly junk. All these words are used to suggest an addiction and the bad effects of an action here. He wants to create an aversion towards television, to watching television here. And oh yes, we know it keeps them still. They don't climb out the windowsill. They never fight or kick or punch. They leave you free to cook the lunch and wash the dishes in the sink. But did you ever stop to think, to wonder just exactly what this does to your beloved thought? Oh, yes. In these lines, the poet says, while watching television, children sit still. They don't make any noise. They don't disturb you. They don't run around, and they don't climb the windows. They never fight with each other. They don't cause any kind of troubles. They don't say, "Oh no, I don't do it. I'll not do it." Nothing is there. They're just some magical spell. They're just watching at the TV. You make them do anything. Okay, you eat slowly. They'll be eating. Concentration is on the screen. So as a result, when they don't make any noise and they're sitting in one place, it's safe for the parents also, isn't it? What do? They can easily do their household work like washing, cleaning without any kind of disturbance. It is important for parents to stop and realize how the television influences their children, how badly it influences. The poet says he agrees that television can be a convenient way to keep children busy. That is true. While watching television, children don't create any kind of trouble. They don't throw tantrums. And parents can do their work uninterruptedly, without any interruption. But the poet says, think, parents, please think. I agree. Oh, yes, it's agree. I agree to this, he says. But think what harm the television is doing to your children. That point you have to think, he says. Who says? The poet. They sit and stare and stare and sit. We have seen. Let us try to frame some questions there and see. They refers to the children sitting in the room. Dal says that in most of the houses, the children are watching continuously the TV. So, as I told, the repetition of the phrase sit, the words sit and stare and sit, just changing the order of the words. Words are same, two words, but there's change in the order. It is done to highlight the dullness of the activity, whatever activity is done. Because you sit and stare for some time, and then they start staring, and then they sit. So it's something like a mechanical activity. You don't think. There is no place for imagination. The children watch the TV for such a long time that their brains stop working. Their understanding also doesn't work. They don't understand things. Only their eyes remain open, watching the pictures on the television. Whatever is telecast, it makes no difference to them. They're just busy. Their mind is controlled by the television. The word hypnotized tells that. As I told you, when somebody drinks alcohol, if the person drinks beyond limit, too much of anything is bad, isn't it? He becomes drunk. He loses control of his senses because he has taken more alcohol. In this way, it affects the behavior of an individual also. The same way, when the child sits in front of the television for a long time, it seems is something consuming like alcohol. It's not alcohol, it's something consuming alcohol. And when you drink more alcohol, you're in a drunken state. The child also looking at the screen for a longer time becomes like that. It's just a comparison. Here, the poet he makes television viewing is equal to alcohol consumption. In this way, he's trying to focus on the negative aspects, negative effect of television. The children also get the chance to see all the rubbish on the television. They don't even blink their eyes. We generally blink every day. How many times do we blink? Just check that. We blink like this. We close and open, close and open. That happens automatically. But here it seems that they don't even blink. The eyes are all the time open. They don't want to miss anything, even a second. So, in this way, they don't want to miss anything in this junk box. So, he uses the word term ghastly junk to tell us what they get from watching television. And we find that the next stanza opens with OS. Oh, yes. The poet is listing the benefits that the parents have, not the children have. The parents' benefits. In what way the parents benefit? What are the benefits of watching television for the parents? The children sit quietly. They don't climb the windows or tables or anything. They don't fight with each other. They don't hurt each other. That is the benefit the parents see for the children part. What is for their part? The parents are free to work in the kitchen. They can cook. They can wash their dishes. There won't be any disturbance. They have no fear that any kind of harm would be caused to the children, physical harm. But they don't realize mentally what is happening to them. So he says, stop to think. But did you ever stop to think? Did you ever stop and think what is happening? To wonder just exactly what this does to your beloved torch. Have you ever thought a second? Did you ever stop to think what is happening to these children when they watch for a longer time? What harm it does? They are really not the advantages, benefits of, there are no benefits of watching television. More harmful things are there. Maybe for a short time, the parents may feel that we are free. It's good. But he's using a sarcastic tone to make fun of the attitude of the parents. So, in this way, the poet wants to convince the parents to realize that watching television is not good, the harmful effects of it. It rots the sense in the head. It kills imagination dead. It clogs and clutters up the mind. It makes a child so dull and blind he can no longer understand a fantasy, a fairyland. His brain becomes as soft as cheese. His powers of thinking rust and freeze. He cannot think, he only sees. Sorry. Watching too much television affects the ability of the children to think, thinking ability, imagination. It kills the imagination. It blocks the mind. Mind is blocked. It makes them blind, dull, blind. Even eyes are affected also, isn't it? Your eyesight also is affected. As their imagination is killed, you won't understand. They won't understand. The children will not understand what is fantasy, what are fairyland stories, how beautiful the fairy tales are, Have you ever read a fairy tale in your life? If you're not done it, please read it. That takes you to another world of fantasy. We all have various troubles in in our lives, various problems in our lives. But when we read such things, it takes us to a different land, makes us happy for some time, an imaginative world. There are many fairy tales. Their brain becomes weak, their thinking is rusted, and it becomes ineffective. Their thinking ability is killed. Only they can see, they cannot think. All these lines are written in capital letters to emphasize that they carry the main message of the poem. Here, slowly, the poet is becoming little more aggressive. He's becoming little aggressive in an aggressive tone by using all capital letters to indicate shouting. Like when you shout, your voice is loud, no? Same way he has put everything in bold. He's shouting in the poem here in the form of bold letters, capital letters, big letters. The message he gives is too much watching of television fills up the mind of the children with useless facts. But at the same time, it destroys the ability to create or understand fantasy and imaginative things. It completely takes away their ability to think, and they keep on just staring at the television. It's an exaggeration. Brain becomes as soft as cheese. You know what is cheese? The brain also is something like that, no? So it also becomes, he compares it with cheese. He says becomes just like cheese. Power of thinking rust and freeze. The thinking, power of thinking is something compared to iron, and when iron rusts, same way here also this would rust. So he uses the word clogs, something obstruction there, clutters, um, fill or spread things in disorderly manner. So here the poet tells us about these things. What does he say? He uses the first one. It rots. It rots the sense in the head. It kills imagination dead. First four lines of this stanza you find it starts with it. It stands for television, and he uses an exclamation mark at the end of the sentence, you see. An exclamatory mark. Because he wants the parents to know, tell them, they should get shocked. This is the problem. He wants them to know that the harm television does to the children. To express surprise, joy, shock, any strong emotion, we use the exclamatory mark. Here, he has, for shock, he has given that exclamatory mark. So, the television makes the children dull and kills their imagination. As I told you, the fairy tales are there, many fairy tales are there. Very simple one, let me tell you, Alice in Wonderland. If you just see Google, you'll find a list of fairy tales. Around 100 will be there, if I'm correct. really good to read, enjoyable. Here, when you read the book, when you read the story, you will imagine. But when you see everything in the form of picture, where is the chance for you to imagine? There is nothing to imagine there. So, when you lose the imaginative power, thinking power, you become dull. So, we find that ultimately in this particular stanza, he uses these in capital letters to emphasize, focus the attention of the reader to this point, to his point. That is, he uses strong words, punctuation marks, so that a desired proper effect should be created by it. They all are put in capital letters because they carry the main message of the poem. That is why. So, we move to the next part, lines 34 to 37. All right, you'll cry. All right, you'll say. But if we take the set away, what shall we do to entertain our darling children? Please explain. Now the parents are in a dilemma. Okay, we realize that television is harmful for the development of the children. But how should we entertain them? The demand from the parents to know how shall we entertain our children. You are saying all these things, we agree. But how should we entertain? Please tell that. Really, parents don't ask him directly, but he anticipates. He asks on his own. This will be their next question. They will agree that, okay, we will keep the children away from the television sets. But how to keep them occupied? How to entertain them? What should we do for that? We will answer this by asking you what used the darling ones to do, how used they keep themselves contented before this monster was invented. Okay, he says, the poet says, he answers this question by asking another question, a counter question, he says. Before the invention of television, what did the children do? How did they spend their time? The poet wants to tell the parents that they cannot have forgotten how they used to engage the children earlier, how they entertained the children before. He reminds them of the activities of the children and how they engage themselves earlier, their children. So it appears from the question that the context of the poem, as far as it is written presently, television became very popular in those days. And before this monster was invented, here the word monster is personification. TV is said to be a monster that distracts children and keeps them away from books. Not only books, away from any other activity. Who keeps them away from any other activity? The monster, the TV. So, the poet, the parents question, the poet answers them. How? He puts a counter question and he asks them. A monster is here an unnatural being here, you can say. That he says that he seems to say, the poet wants to say that this monster, the television, does not belong to the world of children. It doesn't belong to them. It belongs to some other people, not to the children, especially. And this question is again put to the parents by the poet. he gives the answer also to that. He gives the answer in what way? Let us see in the next class how he answers the question posed by what is the answer for the